What's up, everybody, and happy Thanksgiving from the Cage-Free Calvinist. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about Christian thankfulness. Now, it's 2020, and there really doesn't seem like there's a lot of things that we can be thankful for. But as believers, we are called to be thankful in all circumstances. This is coming from 1 Thessalonians 5:18, where it tells us to give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. We are called to give thanks in all circumstances, and there have been some rough circumstances in our lives here in 2020. But it does not change the fact that we as Christians are called to be thankful. So, what do we as Christians have to be thankful for? What can we be thankful for here on earth in 2020 with the pandemic? I know a lot of you out there may not even be able to celebrate Thanksgiving because you have families who are quarantined or things like that. We've got a lot going on in our family, and Thanksgiving is not going to be the same as it usually is. But there are so many things as believers for us to be thankful for. And the first thing, and probably the primary thing, I'd say the primary thing, is to be thankful for the gospel. To be thankful that you and I, if you're a believer, that we have been reconciled to God through the person and work of Jesus Christ. What he did for us on the cross, what he did for us on Calvary, that he took the wrath of God. That he who knew no sin became sin so that we might become the righteousness of God. We can be thankful for that every single day, knowing who Christ is and knowing who we are, knowing that we are no longer slaves to sin, but are slaves to righteousness. Understanding that we have Christ, that we can abide in Christ, that we can bear fruit through him is something we can always be thankful for. But now something that we may not realize or may tend to forget that we can be thankful for is the circumstances that we're going through, even when they're not good. When there are bad things happening in our lives, we can be thankful for them. And the first reason we can be thankful for them is because we know that they are for our good. We know they're for our good. We know that if we look at Romans 8:28, it says, and we know that those who love God, all things work together for good, for those who are called according to his purposes. You and I, if you are a believer, you are one who loves God and is called according to his purposes. And if that's you, then everything that's happening in your life is happening for your good. No matter what it is, it's happening for your good and for his glory, period. And now we may not be able to see that good right away because we think, oh, how could this possibly be for our good? But I firmly believe that why all these bad circumstances are for our good is finished in verse 29 of Romans 8, where he says, for those whom he foreknew, he also predestined to be conformed to the image of his Son, in order that he might be the firstborn of many brothers. I firmly believe that the trials and circumstances that we go through, these problems, these tribulations, whatever you want to call them, I believe they are conforming us to the image of his Son. They are making us more like Christ. They are refining us like fire, like it talks about in 1 Peter. We are being refined. Our faith is being tested, and we are coming out the other side stronger and more faithful. This is why the Bible tells us to count it all joy in James when we go through various trials. You see, all these things that are happening for you, to you, are for your good. They are making you more like Christ. They are strengthening you. They are encouraging you. They are refining you. And it's hard. It's hard to believe sometimes. But we know that these things are happening for our good. In fact, going back to 1 Peter 4:12-13 says this, beloved, do not be surprised at the fiery trials when it comes upon you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you, but rejoice insofar as you share Christ's suffering, that you may also rejoice and be glad when his glory is revealed. We have the privilege and should be thankful that we have the privilege to join in Christ's suffering, to suffer with Christ, to just have a glimpse of what Christ went through, and to be conformed into his image, as it said in Romans 8. So we shouldn't just be thankful despite the circumstances, we should be thankful for the circumstances. And I'd say the last reason we should be thankful as Christians, and there's probably thousands of more reasons, but the last reason I have here on my list is because this is not the end, church. This is not the end for you and I. If you're a believer in Jesus Christ, this is not the end. Romans 8:18, for I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us. This is not the end. This is not the end. We have a living hope in Jesus Christ, and we know that God keeps his promises, and we know that Christ is coming back. And if we die before he comes back, guess what? We will be with Christ. That will be our gain. And if we have to live through all of these sufferings and all of these problems and all of these hardships, we will do so rejoicing and being thankful that we are being conformed to the image of his Son. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed Thanksgiving. And to my Calvinist friends, it's time to get out of the cage.